on that way.
Fantastic, and welcome to everybody that's joined us on this Wednesday afternoon. Really nice to have you with us. Got a lot of information that we need to get through, and clearly from the response that we received, this is a topic which a lot of people are also concerned about. And for some, it's doubt and confusion and chaos, and for others, we have a little bit of clarity, and that's what today is going to be all about. We're going to try and provide you with as much working information as possible. And having said that, I just want to point out that we are in the process of still researching. And it's almost every second day we get a little bit more information from SAQA, CETA, NQF, QCTO. We get a little bit more information that we can pick up from our own colleagues and our associates and our licensees, people that have insight into this entire thing. And that's what this is all about. I see somebody's requesting that they record it. We are recording it, so we'll decline that recording, and then we'll make the recording available to you at a later stage, probably this evening or so. But I just want to quickly go back onto the screen share so that you can see who we are. My name is Ken Annandale, and I founded INTRA-SAFE together with Penny, my partner, about 12, 13 years ago, with the primary objective of assisting health and safety training professionals to get up and running as trainers and to deliver an excellent service to their clients.
And my name is Penny, and I am married to Ken, and we're also co-founders of Intra. I'm more on the financial side and the delivery side. I work specifically with the e-learning platform, and just recently, since January of last year, being wholly focused on the accreditation side of the business, offering that support to our Intra licensees. Back to Ken.
Some of you may know me from my original days at NOSA or after NOSA. I started a company called INTRA-Train, which was one of the first, if not the first, health and safety training company in South Africa. Then I got involved with a variety of other organizations where we made training videos and things of that nature. I've written a couple of books, and more recently I've been involved with Saiosh, and I've chaired their conferences and spoken at their conferences and so forth. So health and safety is something what a passion and in my blood, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And this very morning I was saying to Penny, these people need to get their act together because it's all about legislation at the moment. Okay, so we're going to get straight into the presentation, and I'm going to do a PowerPoint. Now, let me just quickly mention again, firstly, welcome to everybody that's joined us. It's really great to have you with us, but we will be recording this, and I'd like to ask you just to keep your microphones off. And then what we will do is we'll make this available tonight so that when you go home after work, you will be able to get this recording. All right, I'm sure everybody can see the screen over there. So let's get straight into it. Natalie is our customer relations manager, and she sent out an email the other day that saying we have big news. And that's based on the approval by the QCTO of a certain amount, or by the Health and Welfare Sector, by a certain amount of OHS programs that have been revealed for us to take advantage of.
So at the recent committee meeting on the 11th of June, we have a letter confirmation that we received, just confirming that 5 of the OHS skills programs that are in the queue waiting for final publication have been approved. We are waiting still for them to be published on the QCTO website, at which point in time one would be able to develop training materials that align specifically to those curriculums. But it is still good news that at least they've been approved. And we have another 6 or 7 that possibly will be approved in July's committee meeting as well. So things are starting to happen, and it really gives a great opportunity for many of the training providers in health and safety who are not necessarily focused on first aid to actually now get their accreditation with QCTO in place. So very exciting news.
It is exciting times, and at last, and it's been a long, long, long wait, and those of you that have been waiting with us, thank you for your patience. Okay, to get straight into the presentation, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. Those of you that know me, they know that I was also a policeman before I worked for NOSA, and I like criminal legislation. I like it in as much as I was involved in the prosecutorial processes. I have a fair understanding of it, but I'm not a lawyer. It's very important for me to say that. And if you want legal advice, I believe that we might have 1 or 2 attorneys or advocates on the session here today, so we can lean on them. And I just want to quickly mention here that Saiosh, the South African Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, they have an advocate. His name is Advocate Reg No, and he is an advisor to Saiosh members, and you can access his wisdom and insight through the Saiosh platform. Okay, now, Just want to ask you to make sure that your name is added to your image so that you don't have some sort of nebulous name and we can address you by name. I'd like to ask you once again just to mute your microphone and camera, hold your questions to the end. And as I mentioned, we are recording this and uploading it to Zoom. If you want, please take a photograph of this telephone number, this WhatsApp number. This is our Customer Relations Manager's number, 082-499-6911. That's 082-499-6911. And that is our website so that you can make contact with us. This is our team, and Penny will quickly introduce them to you.
Right, well, Ken and myself, we've just introduced ourselves, and then Natalie with the white jacket is Natalie Annandale, Ken's daughter, and she is our Customer Relations Manager. And also in charge of our marketing department. And then there's Erna Weber, who is our admin manager. We have Mike Denobriger, who is our lawyer for legal advice and consultation. We have Deline Sheesby, who heads up the research and development team responsible for the training materials. We have Gavin Beretta and the team at FinSolve, who do our accounting and auditing, etc. We have Devan and Marius, who are heading up our e-learning platform. And we have the gentleman, CEO, the CEO,
is Dirk
from Semantica. I knew it began with D, from Semantica. So this is like the essentials of our team, and there's a bigger team behind this as well.
Absolutely. So this team is there to assist you as well if you need specific information, and we will gladly share that with you. Okay, so now that you know who we are, we're going to go back. I believe it's important that you have a little bit of understanding of history. And the history in this instance over here is where have we come from, where are we going? Well, INTRA's been around for the past 12 years or so, and we have licensees literally from Cape Town to Cairo. And we have groups of people, we call them licensees, it's very much like a franchise. We'll talk more about that at a later stage, not today, but that are knowledgeable. And I know we have a number of them here today, and I want to say to all the licensees, welcome, great to have you guys with us, and hopefully this is going to bring you up to speed as well. Okay. Here is an interesting statistic. In South Africa, with over 60 million people, we have something like 17 million people who are employed to whom the Occupational Health and Safety Act relates. That's a stunning number. I mean, that is a lot of people out there that need training in terms of the health and safety legislation. So what we did is we've been writing training material for years, and we came up with this training license system like a franchise, which has operated, as I mentioned, successfully for the past 12 years. If you want more information on that, not now, just come to our preview next Wednesday the 2nd, and Natalie will provide you with information on that. Our licensing is broken up into 4 licenses: Starter, Basic, Prime, and Platinum, with our main one being our Prime license. We have over 25 training programs that you can acquire, which fall into the category of legal compliance, and they're comprehensive, ready for you to run. Now, these are not unit standard aligned. These are not credit bearing. They are pure legal compliance as required by the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So there's a little bit of background. Now let's get straight into it. So we all know that the Occupational Health and Safety Act talks about the employer's duty, Section 8. And it says the employer shall establish the hazards. Then it says the employer shall establish the precautionary measures, and then the employer shall provide information, instruction, and training. Now, if you look at that, a question which I ask everybody is, how many of you have had the privilege of looking at the employer's hazard or risk profile and the precautionary measures or safe work procedures, and then taking those and writing them into your information, instruction, and training? How many? And I find that there's a lot of people that run generic programs which are not in compliance with the legislation. Okay, then we know that it carries on. In Section 13, it talks about the employer's duty to inform. And a question that I ask is, with the 17 million employed people in South Africa, this legislation talks to, it says, as far as reasonably practical, cause all 17 million employees to be made conversant with hazards to his health. That's crazy. Everybody in South Africa who's employed and who fall under the Occupational Health and Safety Act must be informed, and then, of course, trained, of course, and it must include the precautionary measures to be taken. So making something customized, risk-specific, or adapting it so that it addresses these needs is absolutely critical and a legal requirement. Now, if you do a hazard identification and risk assessment, as we call HIRA, you're going to find that within organizations such as yours or your clients, that these aspects will come up. And all of these aspects fall under the heading of occupational health and occupational safety. Have a look at that list for a moment. Just take that in and ask yourself, are these training programs being run within the workplace? And maybe if you're a training provider, are you running all of these? Wonderful opportunity on the one hand, but it's also from a compliance point of view, a legal requirement that these be done. Now, this isn't a complete list. We'll come back to that in a moment. We also know that the legislation talks of competency, and you'll see that in the regulations, and there are a couple of over there, general safety regulations, driven machinery, construction, ergonomics, it speaks specifically of a competent person. Now, important to note that not only must the competent person know about the regulations and what's required in it, they must also be familiar with the Act and the applicable regulations. Now, that's not the only regulations. There are a couple more. So all told, there are about 10 regulations, half or thereabouts, of all the regulations in South Africa require competency. Bear that in mind. We'll come back to that again. Now, what is the Department of Employment and Labour doing? Well, we've just heard that the minister has announced that they're going to recruit 20,000 labour inspectors. Now, a large portion of those are obviously going to be dealing with the migrants coming across the border, but a large portion of them are going to be focused on occupational health and safety. So, die Afrikaans het 'n mooi woord, pas op. And it's true to say. Now, as a former law enforcement officer, I know that it would be phenomenal if we just had 20,000 new policemen. But they're talking about Department of Employment and Labour inspectors. Okay, so having said that, what if you break the law? Well, currently in the Occupational Health and Safety Act, you can get imprisoned or a fine of 50,000. But in the amendment bill that they've been talking about since, 2014, the proposed fine is now 5 million rand. And I just want to point out that it says that any person, that's you and me, employers, employees, contractors, subcontractors, any person. Wow, that's hectic. So once again, it's not just the 17 million, it's any person. Now, obviously, have a look at that section in the legislation. It then says in Section 8 that the employer must inform, instruct, and train. And the question that I ask people is, what's the difference? What's the difference between information sessions, instruction, and training? So this is where we see the government getting involved. And the Department of Employment and Labour and the Department of Higher Education have got involved. And they've created the skills levy, where the employer must pay 1% of the salary bill if the salary bill is over 500,000 to SARS. Now, that's equivalent to anything between 16 and 20 billion rand every year goes to SARS. SARS then sends 80% to the SETAs and 20% to the National Skills Fund. The employer is then required to put together a WSP as well as an ATR. You can see yourself what they mean. Then, once they've done that and the training's been done, the employer can claim back in the form of a grant 20% of the skills development levy. So what is 1% of 500,000? And they can claim back 20% of the 1%. It's no wonder a lot of employers go, it's not worth my time. However, if you're an employer with a salary bill of 50 million, that's a completely different story because there's a lot of money to recover there. And then, of course, SETAs will also grant these discretionary grants to you. Now, what is rather alarming is that the private sector has been burdened with the responsibility to train employees who maybe missed out on education and training when they were at work, at school. And those of us that are service providers, we don't get any funding. Okay, so where do we from here? There are a couple of things that you do need to know right in the outset. It starts off by saying, a lot of people say employers have to use accredited providers. And I go, no, there's a government gazette that says you do not have to. Then it says employers need accredited training so that they can claim BEE scorecard points. No, there is a government gazette that says it doesn't apply. And it's important to know that. And if you want those references, you can give us a shout. You can actually drop a message in the Dropbox and we'll send you those links. Okay, so what do we do in the meantime? And I'm going to tell you, set the scenario to you. In the meantime, I'm just going to say focus on legal compliance training. Focus on that. And I'm going to come back to this message again and again and again. So we know that in 2023, all the unit standards expired. There was something like 11,000. Then there was an outcry, and the Department of Higher Education and SAQA then extended some of the unit standards to 2026. But gosh, that's just a year from now. I'll bear that in mind. If they do not replace the unit standards, we've got nothing. Okay, from there, then there is a really remarkable thing where they say if your SETA accreditation is still valid, you can operate, but there will be no new SETA accreditation whatsoever. You have to go to QCTO. And QCTO, we'll see in a moment, has started the process, and there's a lot of work to be done. Now, for you, if you happen to be new to this world of SAQA, SETA, NQF, and so forth, and our assessor trainer introduced us to a language called SAQISH. There are all these different terms. It's important that you know what they mean, because if you get them wrong, you might find yourself in a situation that you're stuck, where people say, I need to be registered with SETA. There is no such thing unless you're registering yourself on the NLRD, National Learner Registration Database. Please bear in mind that the language, the lexicon of the health and safety world is quite unique. Of course, I mentioned that the unit standards were cancelled, and then the QCTO was supposed to step in and replace these unit standards. And there's supposed to be a whole bunch of unit standards for our short course industry, which we find has not happened yet, but is starting to happen. And that's why Penny and I are quite excited about this entire thing. There are existing curricula and codes for qualifications, and there are a number of short course or skills programs that are available, but very, very few. So we're waiting dozens and dozens of QCTO codes for health and safety. We also know that there's a certificate delay, and Penny will talk about that. And a very important one from a legislative point of view, we know that employers need a certificate rapidly to prove their compliance to the Department of Employment and Labor. Okay, so where do we find out which unit standards have been extended? You can go onto that website. And where do we find out which QCTO codes are in place? You can go onto that website, and you can do a search there. And this is what it looks like. You go onto the QCTO page, and from that, you can see, and you'll see the number, the SP, the skills program number on the left-hand side. Then you'll see credits, and you will see attachments. Very important. Now, interestingly enough, that's it as far as the short courses are concerned. If you look at anything between 2 and 8 credits, that's it, out of hundreds. So in a way, bemoan the fact, I think we've been left behind. They seem to have forgotten about the health and safety world, but nevertheless. Then, of course, it's also very important to know about notional hours and understand notional hours aren't the actual hours that you're going to stand in a classroom, but notional hours work on the basis of credits. So 2 credits equals 20 notional hours, because it's 10 credits per 10 hours per credit. So a 2 credit course is 20 hours long. Then essentially 30% of that should be done in classroom situation and the remaining 70 in practicals. Get your head around that. That means like the first aid course is a 3-day course, because you would take a 7-hour instructional day, divide it into 20 hours. That's 3 days. Okay. Now, I mentioned to you that we've got this situation where we identified, as a result of the Section 8, employers shall identify the hazards, we identified these titles. Remember that? And all we've got so far are the 3 in red. But hallelujah, we've got 2 in red. We got. It's a start. And we're hoping that we'll see a lot more happening and coming through in a moment, or in the next week or 2, a month or 2, or a year or 2. Okay, so having said that, we'll move on. Remember what I said? In the interim, while we're waiting for the QCTO, do not ignore the fact that it's a legal requirement to do certain training. Now, let's talk about accreditation. And accreditation is something that Penny is specialized in, and she's going to talk you through this entire journey. Over to you, Penny.
Thanks so much, Ken. So as you know, the different programs that are available from the QCTO are skills programs, which are the short courses, shorter courses, then part qualifications and full qualifications. So the space that we are really focusing on is the skills programs. And I think one of the reasons why the QCTO was not ready and prepared for this transition period is that we were in possession of a letter just a couple of years ago whereby the CEO of QCTO absolutely firmly stated that the QCTO was not going to be involved in any courses less than 8 credits. But this soccer ball was bounced around between QCTO and Department of Employment and Labour, and then firmly back into QCTO, and they were left, of course, now not having had the opportunity to get all of these short courses ready. So I'm giving them a little bit of an excuse there as to why we're sitting in this situation. Also, they did not have the capacity to develop all of these skills programs on their own, so they needed to go back to the SETAs and create partnerships with the relevant SETAs to help develop these new skills programs. So one of their principal partners is no surprise for health and safety courses is HWSETA, and HWSETA created different work groups that work together with the QCTO to create these skills programs, and we happened to sit on one of those working groups at a certain time. They did come up with the 3 QCTO first aid skills programs. We're all familiar with those. And we've had some concerns and challenges with that, but it is in process and it can be used for accreditation still. And then we have a series of new OHS skills program codes that are becoming available. And we have just been informed that the first 5 of those has been officially approved at the latest committee meeting, and we are looking forward to those being published on the website, the QCTO website. We check it every day, and we'll certainly let you know the moment that they are published on the website, because then you will be able to download the curriculums and prepare your training material accordingly. So at the moment, we have the basic, intermediate, and advanced emergency first aid responders, and a lot of our licensees have already got their accreditation based on that. But for many that, first aid is not really your skill set, and or you don't have all of the equipment and everything necessary for first aid, definitely we're all waiting for the OHS skills program. So the QCTO do not write course material, and they do not accredit course material. The verifiers, when they come to your site visit, they focus on the learner matrix and make sure that it's compliant and it delivers in terms of the curriculum requirements. As Intra, we are developers of QCTO aligned course material in the skills program landscape. And should you wish to purchase from us or become an Intra licensee, you will definitely have access to our training materials. So when the verifier comes to do your site visit, they're going to look to see that your training material, the knowledge modules, which is your KMs, and your practical modules, which is your PMs, are complete and have the relevant content. They're going to look specifically at your Form 3, which is your program delivery readiness, and that's page specific to your curriculum. And then Form 4, your learner matrix, showing that you've covered adequately each and every element of the curriculum requirements. They're going to look for your FISA, your final integrated summative assessment. They're going to look generally at the quality outlay of your training material, the understandability, is it at the right level? And they will sample a little bit of content. But they do not get heavily involved in the technical content of your training material. We're very happy as Intra that the training material that we've been using, that we've developed and have been using for the accreditation for first aid, we've received lots and lots of compliments from the verifiers. So we're very excited with the quality of our training material, and that's always been a big mission of Intra. With regards to the accreditation process with the QCTO, I'm going to be positive Penny here and just say that there are actually a lot of improvements. We don't have that kind of silo effect dealing with the different SETAs. It's very streamlined, and the online application process is working well. And definitely the QCTO do tend to be very responsive, and the system is working. They have a centralized quality assurance, and this is reducing duplication and overlap. So we have the scenario at the moment that we're waiting for new OHS skills programs to be approved and published on the website. There were 2 courses that were sent to HPCSA for review. That was the audio and the visual. I believe the visuals were already being declined, and I haven't heard back yet regarding the audio one. We've got 5 of the OHS programs approved now, and then hopefully another 7 coming through in July at July's QCTO committee meeting, and then a further 13 packed up in the pipeline that hopefully will come out fairly soon as well. So we're already sitting in June, we're already sitting in the middle of the year. This is a great opportunity for you to actually get going with your accreditation process, so that you can get your accreditation in place by the end of this year. Remember, we've only got 1 year out from the end of June 2026, when the rest of the unit standards are going to expire. So of the 5, the 2 that we really are going to focus on and recommend to you are the basic legal liability, if you like. It's called Essential OHS Compliance Insurer, and the basic HIRA or Risk Assessor, Operational OHS Risk Assessor, and those are NQF Level 3 with 2 credits each. And so very, very similar to what you would have been presenting for basic legal liability and basic HIRA previously, and you'll be able to rock and roll with those very, very quickly. So as soon as those curriculum are published, the training materials will become available, and you would be able to probably, we hope, get your accreditation application in during the month of July. And as the accreditation process seems to take about 6 months on average, you should be looking at getting your accreditation in place by the end of the year. Sometimes it's a lot quicker. I mean, some of our licensees have come through on 3 or 4 months. So really, really good results there. And these are the others coming through, which would be Emergency Response and Evacuation Coordinator, Essential OHS Representative, which is like our HASREP. Of course, we're all looking forward to that. Evacuation Marshal, General Emergency Preparedness and Response Partner, Incident Investigation Team Leader, like InvestTrack, Incident Investigation Team Member, and Intermediate OHS Representative. So that's your intermediate HASREP. So you will see that they love to give you a little bit of a career path, different to the CETAs. So it's basic, intermediate, and advanced is often the route that they love to take. Why? Because one of the main missions of the QCTO is to improve skills of employees in the workplace, so that they are better able to achieve career advancement, etc. The 2, as I say, that we really want to recommend that you get going with as soon as possible is the basic OHS Compliance Insurer and the Operational OHS Risk Assessor. So just to go into those into a little bit more detail, and we're not going to break open the curriculum right now because we're waiting for the curriculum to be officially published. But the purpose for the basic legal liability is to enable learners to function as an essential OHS compliance insurer. So you can see there the 3 main points of the purpose: apply operational knowledge of OHS legislation to identify and clarify potential personal legal liabilities relating to OHS in a work environment. Question mark about personal. Apply common practice procedures to report any workplace incidents, injuries, near misses, or hazardous conditions to the appropriate supervisor or designated safety personnel as required by OHS regulations, and through this mitigate the potential for incurring legal liabilities. Apply common and essential methods to adhere to established safety procedures, protocols, and guidelines provided by the employer to mitigate risks and prevent accidents or injuries in the workplace that could lead to incurring personal and organizational legal liabilities. This is aimed at all employees. And the caveat is just to say that you can adapt this training material to cater for literacy and numeracy needs of all employees. So this is a fundamental training material that each and every of that 17 million employees needs to be trained in this. So this is a great opportunity. Not only is it a great business opportunity for you, but it's also a very important opportunity to improve awareness of these hazards and risks in the workplace, and what to do. Facilitators who wish to facilitate this training material, and remember with the QCTO, facilitators are also assessors. So facilitators and assessors must be in possession of a qualification at least one NQF level higher than the level of the skills program, and at least 2 years work experience in health and safety, and must successfully complete an assessment on the content of the skills program. So by that, it would be probably a FISA would be perfect. Your classrooms are definitely a lot bigger for these courses, so you can have up to 30 if it's a face-to-face training, or up to 50 if it's distance learning. So a great opportunity to train many, many employees. In fact, their statement was all employees. And then the basic HIRA or risk assessor, which is also NQF level 3, credits 2. Purpose is for the learner to function as an operational workplace hazard and risk assessor. So to be able to identify hazards and understand the associated risks. So for subheadings here, utilize organizational specific systems, processes, and information relating to hazard identification and risk assessment. And of course, I know that there are many different systems and SWIFT and this and the next one. I think the training material is going to relate to that and specify that in more detail. Participate in departmental risk assessment processes, take action to prevent incidents caused by potential hazards, implement basic risk control measures. So this is open to all who have an NQF level 2 qualification. It also states that they should have successfully completed the basic legal liability, the basic OHS compliance insurance. So that's interesting. You can see now why they've released these two together, is that the one goes hand in hand with the other. So you start with the legal liability, and then you can go straight away to the basic risk assessor. Facilitators and assessors should have a qualification at least one NQF level higher than the level of the skills program, at least 2 years work experience again, and also must successfully complete an assessment of the content of the skills program. Physical face-to-face training, once again, large classes, more than 30, up to 30 for face-to-face, and up to 50 for online. Just referring to the balance of the three there, for the intermediate legal liability, that would be aimed more at middle management, and the advanced legal liability would be aimed more at senior management. And remember, we do also have the specialist risk assessor. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat box if you would be interested in all 5 of those programs, or that you feel that just focusing on the 2 credit programs for now. Remember, you can get accredited for 1 program. You don't have to do all 5. It's up to 5 at any one time. But if you choose and you want to just do 1 or 2, just to get your QCTO accreditation foot in the door, if you like, you can absolutely do that. These were the balance coming through that we've spoken about, that we're waiting for the feedback. Now, it's very important to mention working at heights here, because as you know, falling from height, or not so much at a big height, or any kind of falling, is a massive cause of accidents, and also fatal accidents. And the Institute of Working at Heights have been heavily involved with the QCTO. No blame on them, for the last 3 to 4 years, diligently attempting to get these skills programs approved. It was delayed again this last year, because it was decided that it now had to go back through the CETA, and there seems to be quite a few delays there. So in frustration, and determining to actually find an interim arrangement, the Institute of Working at Heights have put together what they call an interim process, which is going to license facilitators to train working at heights. You will need to have had your facilitator and assessor qualification, either through the ETDP and or the equivalent from QCTO, and you must have the necessary experience, of course, in working at heights training. There is a webinar, introductory webinar, on the 4th of July, 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. And those of you that are interested in training working at heights are specifically invited to attend. You do need to email Lizani, so maybe just take a photo of this email address at qmd@profbody.co.za, just requesting permission to attend the webinar. Maybe you can just list your experience if you want to, and they will send you the link. So this is the process at the moment for Institute of Working at Heights. Please don't miss that opportunity, because I know that this is a very, very, very important requirement at the moment. For fire, we have been in touch with LG-CETA, who have been given the responsibility of the skills programs for fire. Unfortunately, they have not yet started the skills programs for fire. They have admitted and acknowledged that they will be doing these, and they are going to be putting together a work group to accomplish this. If you would like more information or you'd like to be part of the work group, the person to speak to there is Sibulele at the bottom there, and his email address. Please do take a photo of that. And also, just in a nice, polite way, just apply pressure and say that there's a big requirement for this. You have a massive demand for this in the workplace, because I think the more of us that are lobbying, not just a few, but more of us, there will be a quicker progress on delivering these very, very important OHS short skills programs. There are a bunch of skills programs available, but for larger amount of credits for mining, for forestry, for occupational health, and for machinery, cranes, and forklifts. In fact, TETA, with machinery, cranes, and forklift, I think have been probably the most diligent of all the SETAs, and they've done an exceptional job of providing all of the training. So go onto the QCTO website and have a look at what is relevant to you, and you can link the link below there. So maybe just take a photo of that as well, and do your own research for that. Please do come back to us if we can help you in any way there. The good news from the 1st of April already, and I think most of you are aware of this, is that the costs relating to accreditation with the QCTO have been suspended. They still do have their certification costs, which is currently at 149 Rand per certificate. But costs for accreditation with QCTO has been suspended until further notice. So now is absolutely the best time for you to get involved and get your accreditation in place. Avoid the tsunami. There's obviously going to be more and more interest as the time is ticking and we're getting closer and closer to June 2026. We know that a lot of you already had your SETA accreditation still current and still valid until 2027 or 2028. And this was very helpful for you in being able to continue to train regulatory unit standards. But according to the Government Gazette, which was on the 13th of December, they stated quite clearly that they were not going to extend those unit standards again. They've already extended them a few times and they're not going to do it again. So please, our encouragement to you, we need you in the marketplace. We need you out there keeping people safe at work. Please make sure that you get your accreditation in place. So what we've done as Intra is within our Prime and Platinum licenses, we actually include a self-driven, self-empowered accreditation process. And we supply you with a complete Accredi Kit, which is a Google Drive, which has all the templates, including an annually reviewed QMS, a business plan, SLAs, checklists, MOUs, policies and procedures, assessments, policies and procedures, Department of Employment and Labour policies and procedures and applications. For those of you that are doing first aid, of course, or forklift, you do need to have your Department of Employment and Labour approval as well. So we cover so much. It's constantly evolving as we're getting new information and we're adding to that. You get reasonable WhatsApp consultation with the team. And we do monthly do-it-yourself workshops, which are recorded for you so that you can go back again and again and again and double check that you've done everything correctly. And I'm super impressed. We've got so many Intra licensees coming through the process now, having done it completely themselves. Why did we want to do it this way? Is because it's going to save you so much time and money going forward. Just remember that you are limited to 5. It used to be 6. I don't know why it changed to 5, but anyway, you're limited to 5 skills programs or part qualifications or full qualifications for your application at any one time. But you can do as little as 1 at a time also. The do-it-yourself accreditation saves you so much time, so much money, puts you in control. You are the one that's responsible, not a consultant that maybe is dealing with 100 applications, even though we have some really excellent consultants in South Africa doing a great job. But it puts you in charge of the process. And we do find that the time process can be curtailed quite a lot when you are in charge and doing a great job. We cover a lot of information in our workshops, but we do try to make it as easy as possible for you to understand so that you understand the timelines, you understand what to do when. Our next do-it-yourself workshop's coming up on the 10th of July. So if you do want to be in time for that, we'd be delighted to welcome you as a new INTRA licensee. The Google Drive delivery, as I say, it's constantly being updated, and we're also very grateful to all of our INTRA licensees for sharing their intellectual property and also assisting us with peer review of our training materials, etc. We've got INTRA licensees that have more than 3 decades experience in health and safety training. In fact, we have 1 or 2 that are actually QCTO verifiers themselves. And their information and feedback to us is absolutely priceless. For those of you that just want to get a handle and an introduction to what's going on with the QCTO accreditation process, it's free to download the Road to Success booklet, and that really is our learner manual for this process. Just print it out, take a highlighter, go through it again and again and again, and it just outlines the basics of the process. For those of you that are completely overwhelmed with the accreditation process and definitely don't have the time to even focus 1 minute on it, we do have a Prime Plus option where we assist you with all aspects of the accreditation, but of course that will cost you more money. So you can have a look at that if that's something that you prefer. Our licensees have been getting through the site visits, etc., very successfully, and the quality of their site visits has been greatly complemented by verifiers, and we're sure that yours would be equally complemented. It's all in the preparation. And once you've completed your site visit, and you don't have any remediations that immediately have to be done, then the report is sent through to the QCTO Accreditation Committee. Your accreditation award is for 5 years, and you would need to then renew it in that 4th year to make sure that it stays current. There is an appeal process, but fortunately, if you're prepared, you shouldn't need to worry about that. Just a word, we're not going to go into the enrollment process or the assessment process. We are actually developing a 2nd workshop for our licensees, which just says, post accreditation, I've got my accreditation, now what? And just takes you through the very particular QCTO assessment and quality assurance process, which has raised quite a few challenges. But remember, we discussed this. The QCTO was not originally going to focus on lower than 8 credits. So they have really set themselves up to be more orientated towards colleges and schools, etc. So dealing with our industry is still fairly new for them, and we need to work together so that they understand our industry better. And our needs and our challenges specifically. They do have this thing of hard copy certificates, not sure how that's going to work in reality with 17 million employees, but I'm sure these are all challenges that we can overcome as we go ahead. Department of Employment and Labour, we do also assist you with that. It's a manual process, as you remember probably, and that will cost you 400 Rand, which you pay directly to the Department of Employment and Labour. But yes, definitely worthwhile to have a do-it-yourself process in place, because this is going to be an ongoing process for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, as the QCTO plays catch-up, and you also decide which courses are going to be relevant to you and your clients particularly. So at this point, I'm going to hand back to Ken, who's just going to finish off the presentation.
Penny, I want to say thank you for all your preparation. And I know that we've a kind of different audience here. We might have people here that know the QCTO thing very well, and well done on keeping abreast of it. And we've got other people that this is the first time that they're hearing it. So the intention is we've recorded it so you can listen to it a couple of times, come to the workshops, and obviously we'll provide you with as much information as possible. So the question is, where do we go from here? Well, I believe that lobbying, as Penny recommends, is essential. We're providing you with 2 email addresses there from one from the QCTO, and a gentleman by the name of Lufuno, Patrick Kovale. I'm not sure how you pronounce his surname. Forgive me, Lufuno. And the email address is thovhakale.l@qcto.org, and I'm sure that must be .za. Okay, then the other one is Dawn Brown from the HWCTA. Lobby them. Tell them what you think. Ask them questions. Get them to respond to you from a professional point of view so that you know where you're going and they know what your thoughts are. You might have seen a couple of topics over there and you go, well, why do they even develop that? And what are these strange terms that they use, enforcers and insurers and things like that? Well, that's for you to chat to the QCTO and HWCTA, as well as your institution or your professional body. If you're a member of any one of these professional bodies or institutions, please engage with them. Tell them what your thoughts are. Ask them questions. If you have any objections, please make those objections loud and clear to your professional body. And as a result of that, hopefully we will see a little bit more progress and certainly we'll get things happening a lot quicker. Then from our point of view is our website provides you with a lot of information. And we have a page where you go to the website, which is www.intrasafe.co.za. That's www.intrasafe.co.za, and click on the request a more information button, and we'll send you a lot more information, not only from a sales point of view, but also we'll send you information relating to where we're going in terms of this journey. If any of this appeals to you and you want to come on board as a prime licensee, we would welcome you. We'll provide you with a quotation. Just WhatsApp that number, 082-499-6911. That's 082-499-6911. And we have a number of licensees, prime licensees that are here today. In the meantime, remember what we said, focus on legal compliance. Because at the end of the day, if you do not focus on legal compliance, you are breaking the law. And remember we said there's a 50,000 Rand fine, or later on, maybe even a 5 million Rand fine. So focusing on the law is first and foremost. And I'm sure that you know this, that if you do not focus on QCTO or NQF or SAQA or any of those pieces of legislation, that in itself isn't a major criminal offense. In some instances, not a criminal offense at all. Okay, then Penny provided you with the date of the QCTO workshop. And as she said, there is a possible tsunami. There's going to be a logjam of people wanting accreditation. Now, just as an incentive, if any of this appeals to you and you want to become a licensee, a prime licensee, currently we have the AOSH, which is the largest occupational health and safety expo in Africa. We have a 10% discount on the prime license. So you can take advantage of that. And we've got a couple of days left. I know that we've got a number of people that have joined us today that we met at AOSH up in Gallagher State. So next question is, where to from here? Well, where to from here? Please get hold of our prospectus. You can ask Natalie for it, or you'll receive it when you go and register on the request and information page. And if you want to ask questions one-on-one, person to person, if you want a similar session for your management team, please let us know. And Natalie will set up a Zoom scheduled meeting with myself or Penny or herself, and we'll provide you with more information. My suggestion is always take the prospectus, do your due diligence, print it, go through it with a highlighter, ask your attorney to give you some guidance, ask your accountant to give you some guidance so that you get a better insight into it. I'm going to provide you with our numbers, and Natalie, you can ask questions on the marketing side, Penny for the QCTO side, and you can ask me about subject matter. But please, can you please WhatsApp us? The reason for that is that our phones have become very, very busy, as you can imagine, and a WhatsApp message is so much easier to get back to you, even if it's after hours. Okay, so at this stage, what we're going to do is we're going to stop the share and then find out, is there anybody here who has any questions whatsoever? So let's go straight back there and see. Anybody with any questions?
Hi, Ken, how are you doing?
Great stuff. Who's that?
It's Roshan here.
Hi, Roshan. How
Hi,
are you, my
Roshan.
friend?
Good in here, man. We haven't chatted in a while.
Some time now, yeah.
So just a couple of questions from my side. The 5 skill program that's been approved.
Yes.
The risk assessor, what was the other one? Compliance, the legal liability, and the OHS, I think, was part of it.
That's right.
Do you guys offer it on your site as something that I can go and just purchase the material for?
We will do, but we don't at the moment because we're waiting the same as you. We're also waiting.
Yeah.
I think everybody in South Africa is waiting in the OHS space, waiting for it to be officially published on the
Yeah.
QCTO website. As soon as that happens, we will definitely let everybody know. And we will then realign training materials specifically to the QCTO curriculum as published.
Yeah. Okay. And the last question I have for you, if possible, man. Once this is published, right, do I have to be a certified or accredited QCTO provider to actually facilitate these programs?
The answer is yes, or at least your company must be accredited. If you're going to be running the program as a commercial program and if it's a credit bearing program. No, if it's a legal liability program. And I just want to quickly mention something, Roshan. These programs that we're talking about here, what we've already done is we've developed the training material as a legal liability program. Legal compliance program. Yes.
Yeah.
And the moment we see the curriculum, we will then align what we've already got. Remember, I mentioned we've got 25 programs. We'll align that to the curriculum.
I'm going to send you a WhatsApp message privately. As soon as I'm done here or later on this afternoon,
Yes.
with some other questions.
If I can come in there as well, because I think you raised something interesting. In the curriculum document, that does state that as the facilitator and assessor, you would also need to be accredited QCTO facilitator to train that course. But that's only if you're doing the QCTO accredited training and you're looking to go through the whole quality assurance through the QCTO and get the QCTO hard copy certificate of competence at the end of that for each and every learner. However, if you prefer or your client has decided that they want to do the legal compliance, remember these are not required by law for accredited training. First aid is, yes, required by law to have SAQA accredited training. Working at heights is, yes, by law. But legal liability is not. So you would have that option going forward.
Maybe I should just send Natalie a message. I know she did send it to me once before, but I'll send her a message with regards to the legal compliance stuff, the 25 programs that you have.
Yes.
I'm interested in actually purchasing some of the material on a month-to-month basis.
Perfect.
So I
You
can
can
actually do that on my
absolutely do
own.
that. Yeah, and it's available on our website. You can purchase them either on the website or if you prefer an invoice, it's also fine.
Yeah, no, I'll work it out and I'll chat to Natalie about it. Thanks for that, guys.
Great.
You're welcome.
I see Scheherazad's got their hand up there. Scheherazade, go right ahead and ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. Firstly, thank you so much for an informative session. The weather's pretty bad here, so I'm hoping you can hear me.
I can just hear you.
Okay, thanks. So my question goes around the Occupational Health and Safety Bill, and the promulgation of that is quite imminent. I just want to get an understanding as to what impact that will have on the publication of the training programs and the material and where QCTO and yourselves fit within that. Because we all know when legislation changes, there's a whole ripple effect of everything else changing, and it's quite time consuming.
Yes.
So I'd be quite interested to hear your thoughts and if there are any whispers in the industry about this much awaited bill getting promulgated.
Such a good question. I was hoping someone was going to ask that.
I want to quickly mention
Penny can just speak first.
Then Penny will go.
Yes.
So the amendment bill came out, the first time that I saw it was in 2014, and it's sort of bounced around backwards and forwards. And then more recently it came to the fore, and I mentioned that I was on the Saiosh committee, a technical committee discussing the legislation, and then it got quiet again. And last year in August, I chaired the Saiosh conference down in Cape Town. Natalie and I were down there, and the chief inspector, Millie Reuters, was there, and the inspector general, Aggie Molloy, was there, and they mentioned this legislation is coming. In fact, Aggie said that the legislation is almost on the president's desk. Now, we know that the president's been really busy. Okay, so having said that, so we anticipate it's going to come out, and what I'm saying to people is don't wait. Get your head around it. Understand what's in the legislation. And if there's any little changes, then we can adapt to those changes. So when it comes to this curriculum, obviously, we collectively, the industry will have to adapt to make sure that the curriculum lines up with the legislation and not the other way around.
Yes, but that will be determined by QCTO. So I think the QCTO was 100% correct that they couldn't refer to the new amendment bill because it's not yet law. So it is correct that they didn't include it at this point in time. So yes, once it is promulgated, then yes, there will have to be curriculum updates right across the board, and in particular on the legal liability side. So excellent question. I'm really glad that you raised it. Thank you so much. Victoria.
Okay, I have one other quick statement here.
Yes.
Please know this. This is a very important thing. The people that are developing the curriculum, the QCTO curriculum, they are generalists and not specialists. Very important to note. And we've noticed that with some of the other stuff is that when the specialist gets hold of it, the specialist looks and goes, oh, why did they write that? Whereas the generalist writes it as they see it. And a lot of these people writing the curriculum are not occupational health and safety specialists. Okay, they're generalists. Important to note. Okay, having said that, over to Victoria.
Hi, thanks. Penny, will you provide us with the full information of the Cape Town Expo? There was a slide for 21st to the 23rd of October.
Yes, for Cape Town.
OHS.
Yes.
Yes, with pleasure. That's going to be at the Cape Town ICC. Yes, I think it's the first time that the AOSH Expo and the other related exhibitions are happening down in Cape Town. I think Cape Town is really becoming an industry hub of note. So yeah, looking forward to that. But yes, you can pop a WhatsApp to us and we'll send you that information.
I see Natalie's just made a comment at the bottom over there. That's fantastic. She says you need to have a registered company with the CIPC, a PTY Limited, or an NGO or NPO to get your accreditation. Important.
Yes.
They don't accredit individuals. They also don't accredit, it's interesting, they don't accredit material. They accredit the company, and then from there, they work from there. So I'm going to go back, and Natalie, I think she's actually popped the AOSH dates for Cape Town into the chat box. So please, would you have a look there? Then I see Peter's got his hand up. Peter, thank you so much. And Victoria, thank you for your question. Over to Peter.
Yes, good afternoon to Ken and Natalie. Fantastic once again for you sharing all this information. I did pick up that you actually, with the short courses, the subject matter expert must have done a FISA. Is that correct, Natalie?
Hi, it's Penny here. Natalie is our CRM.
Penny, sorry.
No worries.
I'm surrounded by women.
Peter, so they say that the facilitator and assessor needs to have completed a FISA, if you like, on that course that you're training to show that you are competent in terms of that course yourself. And I think that makes sense. And you would have need to have done the next level up. So probably if you're doing basic legal liability, you would have already completed the intermediate legal liability. And this is why they publish these together, so that there's an opportunity for us to dot these I's and cross these T's.
Yeah, my only comment is I'm currently on a working group working with the CETA and the QCTO for short skills courses. And this process takes time, and then we have to wait for it to be published. Now, if we are going to apply online, we get response quickly, but then we have to provide a subject matter expert, and it's difficult to be a subject matter expert on a course that hasn't yet been properly run as such. So I'm just wondering from a technical point of view how they would assess that, because we learned that if you're a facilitator, stroke assessor, and you've had 2 years experience, that would be fine for a certain number of the courses. So now I'm picking up a new thing, and I just wanted to clarify it, Penny.
It's a very good question. I know with the first aid, we had a similar situation. And there they were very comfortable approving, if you like, those that have already done the CETA courses. So they've done the CETA basic, intermediate, and advanced. And that was already in place, and they were registered with the HPCSA, etc., and that was in place. And they had more than 3 years experience, that was in place. So probably here, but that's a good question. I'm going to take that further myself, just so that I can offer better clarity. But thank you, Peter, for raising that.
Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
And thanks for the comments. We really appreciate that. Now, I just want to say once again, I'm going to stop the recording in about 5 minutes' time. This is dynamic. This entire topic is dynamic. Penny and I talk about it and well into the night, and we go, what's happening now and who heard this? And if anybody here hears anything relating to QCTO, SAQA, CETA that you think would be of benefit to us, please WhatsApp us.
Yeah.
Let us know. We'll do some research into it. We have a couple of people that will be able to assist us, particularly because they are subject matter experts. And I don't want to name drop, but at this stage, I just want to say to those of you who know who you are, licensees here, thank you very much for all your support and assistance. We appreciate that. I saw there was a message from Dries. Dries, as jy graag wil, vra maar jou vraag. As jy, ek het so klein bietjie jou boodskap gesien, it popped up on the screen.
Hi, thanks, Ken. Now, I just want to inquire whether there's a formal QCTO accreditation guidelines for the preparation, the application, the on-site audit, and the documents that's required for that, as well as a checklist. The checklist that I did find was very vague, and the standards are not very clear that you should have in place to assist you with your accreditation. Not only for the accreditation, but I think it also assists the training provider to establish an international or an accepted training standard.
Dries, thank you for that question. Yes, so within the curriculum documents, there's a lot of relevant information and checklists there in terms of the inventory for your physical resources required for the accreditation process, etc. And the Road to Success is a good introductory policy that is very helpful. It just gives you a very clear idea. There's also a presentation that's also free to download on the QCTO website, which takes you through the accreditation process. Those are all fairly general, broad strokes, but it really gives you a good idea and gives you a clear indication of what the documents are that you need to have put together as you start. And then, like what we have done with our Google Drive support is to include a lot of relevant QCTO policies and procedures. And as they've changed and evolved, keeping up to date with that. And we make that available to our intra-licensees to add additional checklists. And we also have intra-licensees that have shared their own checklists, especially for OHS audits and things like that, which has been very helpful. So we really want to try and take away as much of the difficulty and the challenge as possible so that you're very clear. And the feedback that we have from intra-licensees that have already completed the process with their first accreditation in the bag is that it was really so helpful and they were so much more confident going forward. So I don't think there's one absolutely complete checklist that I've seen on the QCTO website, but there's just different areas where you pick the information together. And then, as I say, we've added to that.
So, Dries, we'll gladly come back to you. Mahendra, before I go to you, I just want to go to Happy. Happy writes here in the chat box, he says, hi, Ken, is it possible to do the on-site training only if you don't have the training facility, if your focus is on companies?
Yes, absolutely. So the QCTO, though, will require that any venue that you are doing QCTO accredited training will have to comply with their quality assurance. So there is a special link that you can go to on the QCTO website to update the details of that additional venue. And they have to be approved by the QCTO at least 30 days prior to the training taking place at that venue. So this is a bit of a challenge. Once again, we see the disparity in not understanding our industry and the fact that our trainers need to be very flexible. Sometimes you only get 24 hours notice to do essential training. So this is something that we have to work with, keep lobbying so that they have a better understanding of our needs. And I think, we'll find a way to work together going forward. But at the moment, as it stands, your principal venue is used for your accreditation. Whenever you need to change it, you can absolutely do that. But there are certain things that you need in place with that venue, including your SLA or MOU with that company, and the OHS audit, of course, with that venue, making sure that it's safe a great learning environment for your learners. This is how it is.
Right, I'm going to move on. Mahendra, I see you've been very patient with your hand up. Would you like
Thank you,
to
Ken.
ask your question?
Yes, Ken. Good afternoon to you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Clearly, yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I just want to ask, with regards to the DLCI number, is there a central office that you call, or do you call your regional office? Because when I tried the regional, it's like nobody knows and nobody can help you, and you just find yourself in a circle trying to catch your tail.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Yes, we've been fortunate to have members of Department of Employment and Labour attend our do-it-yourself accreditation workshops, and they've been extremely helpful, also very responsive. So absolutely WhatsApp me, and I can give you a list of the provincial department heads or contacts, let's put it that way, specific contacts that you should contact for any information regarding your CI number. So just let me know and I'll send you that list. We do also include that within our accreditation Google Drive support.
It's funny, I saw a message pop up here. This stuff is doable. When we were dealing with the CETAs, it became a very convoluted, long-winded process. And I know that there's some people that waited for over a year to get their accreditation in place. Now it's a lot shorter. But I do want to caution you, Penny talked about the tsunami, the tidal wave. So please be aware of the fact that the sooner the better. And we're not rushing you in any way other than to say that you want this by the end of the year so that 2026 becomes a very profitable, prosperous year for you. So with that, I want to move to Natasha Singh. Natasha, thank you for your patience. Would you like to ask your question?
Okay. Hi, Ken and Penny. Thank you very much for the session. It's always good, getting the updates. So we've actually acquired our QCTO accreditation specifically for the first aid skills programs. What I needed to find out, and just to the point of having the training, the QCTO skills programs conducted at a client's venue. So most of the clients obviously would prefer training to be done on their site. And the cases where you have a client that regularly does a specific skills program, how would that QCTO accreditation work for that specific client?
So your accreditation is in place, Natasha. Congratulations. That's awesome. I think we've discussed this a couple of times at length at our workshops. You know, it really gives you the opportunity in a way to sell to your client in a different way and just say, look, because of the requirements with the QCTO, let's dig into your WSP now. Let's look at the year ahead. Let's look at 2 years ahead. And let's plan this a lot more logically. And so, because I need time to get the venue approved ahead of time. And then get 12 venues done in a go or whatever. But make sure all of your venues, as many as possible, are done, you know, a few months in advance, 3 months in advance at least, you know, going forward. So at the moment, if the requirement is on you, the STB, the training provider, you have that responsibility to ensure that your venue has been approved by the QCTO. Look, they're not going to visit each and every venue. They don't have the capacity for that. But you do need to dot your I's and cross your T's because it could be very embarrassing. And they threaten that if you don't do this process, they can actually take away your accreditation. So at the moment, we just need to do what they have requested.
Okay, so in the case where you have a client that does, for example, the first aid on a monthly basis, we just need to get that venue accredited just as a once-off, and that's
absolutely
it.
And speak directly
100%.
to the accreditation department at the QCTO and verify that and confirm that, you know, and then you absolutely know that you are perfectly in line, and I think that will be great for you and for your client.
Okay, so
Natasha?
is there any way that hi?
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Sorry. Is there any way that we can have the venues accredited even though the skills programs have not been accredited? So I'm just thinking a little bit proactive here. So if we know that there's like these new skills programs for the HIRA and the legal liability coming, but can we not pre-approved? No.
No, not as far as I'm
Oh,
aware.
damn.
If you
That's a
find
waste
out
of
anything
time.
different, please do let me
Please
know.
tell us.
Please
Please
tell
tell
us. But
Yeah.
we're not aware of that.
It would
No.
be nice. Yeah, it would be
Yes.
nice. All right. No, cool. Thank you very much.
But prepare, like be proactive, because now you know it's like playing a game of chess. You know what's coming down the line. You know, so
Yes.
so get your ducks in order, and your clients will appreciate that too.
And as a word
No, I
of
appreciate
encouragement
that.
to everybody, this thing is doable.
Yes.
Van Afrikaans, dis doenbaar. Doenbaar.
It's like the Springboks. You just need 1 point.
Natasha, I want to just quickly go back to what you were saying there. Can I ask you to lobby your Department of Employment and Labour Chief Inspector?
Yeah.
Lobby her, lobby the Inspector General, because it's important that the Department of Employment and Labour and the Department of Higher Education talk to each other.
Yes.
Because I know, having been in the training world for years and years and years and years, I get a phone call on a Wednesday saying that the inspector's coming next week. Please, can you do the training on Friday? Now, there's no way that you can comply with the guidelines provided by the QCTO. Remember, it's not a law, not a law. And if they take away your accreditation, there's a constitutional issue there, but we don't want to get into that. So just be aware of that.
Yeah.
And then if you lobby the Department of Employment and Labour and the Department of Higher Education, let them address it. Let them fight it out, or if there's a fight at all. Okay, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much, Ken.
Great, you're
Thanks,
welcome. I
Natasha.
see Lebohang's got his hand up, and I've got essentially just a minute or two, and then I'm going to stop the recording, but we'll carry on with the questions. So, Lebohang, over to you, my friend.
Good day. How are you, sir? And ma'am, how are you? I'm good. I'm good. If I may ask, I've seen that you have a five occupational health program. So today, this is the first one. So we're still gonna go to the next program with you guys.
So we've got 2 now, and they've what do they call it? Published it, or
No, they haven't published. So
what is the word?
we've got the 5 that are approved at the previous committee meeting, which means that they have to be signed off now by the CEO, and then they can be published on the website. We're hoping that that's not going to be another further long delay, because everybody knows how urgently they're required. And then there will be another 7 at least at the July committee meeting. We hope that they also are approved, because we've got the HASREP in there, which is a very, very important one for all of us. And then there's another 12 or so in the pipeline, including ergonomics, which is also going to be very, very popular. So the most popular health and safety OHS short skills programs are in line. They are in line for this year. And there will be more to come thereafter. If you are an Intra-Prime licensee or Platinum licensee, as these become available and that they are officially published on the QCTO website, they will be made available to you as part of the license program. Otherwise, you would be able to purchase them individually from our website going forward.
Loud and clear, thank you.
Great. Lebohang, I see you there. John, I see you switched your camera on. Do you have a question, John?
Just a brain cell moment. Once a place has been accredited, say you're using XYZ Hotel as their conference facility, once it's been accredited, does that accreditation stay for that premises?
Yes.
So my brain cell moment was that, why can we not get a list of places that are already accredited as a group, and that we can then, we don't have to, we know the place is accredited. It might make it easier for our accreditation maybe to go through to say the place is already being accredited.
That is where it's a public facility you're talking about. Well,
I mean, like where I'm here, there's a hotel I use. There's a hotel I use, and yeah, and on the country estate where we've got conference facilities.
Yes.
So that would be my 2 prime. Well, I've used them already. So that would be my 2 prime places for doing outside. Well, even companies coming on site, because some companies want to get away from the workplace. So maybe we can maybe compile a list in our areas of who is already accredited or public facilities.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I definitely want to take that further. It was suggested to me as well that when you are dealing with reputable companies, they normally have excellent health and safety processes in place. Well, I'm assuming that you've been part and parcel of delivering that excellent health and safety procedures, etc. So normally they are OHS compliant. So it's relatively simple to put it all together. But yes, I think that's a very interesting out of the box thought.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely take that further. Thanks, John, as always.
I know in the chat box there's lots and lots of questions. I can see Natalie's been trolling through the questions, having a look at them and so forth. And I want to say, by way of your sticking around, everybody's still here. We've got 145 people that are still here. We're going to be sending out the video this evening. I'm going to stop the recording. Please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. We can set up these Zoom scheduled meetings. Natalie will help you with that. If you have any other questions that you'd like to ask that we can't answer, please remember that you've got your professional body or your institute that you can go to. And I would strongly lobby them to say, please get involved, talk, speak. Make sure that we get more training programs done. And then, of course, those of you that want to get more information on becoming a prime licensee and getting your accreditation and getting all the training material, please drop us a line and let us know about that. So I want to say to Natalie, who's been quiet on the other side, Natalie, thank you so much for all the work that you've done. Your work is superb. To Penny, Penny's nickname is Money Penny, but that just indicates that she's highly analytical. She's spent hours and hours and hours together with her team, making sure that we get all the details right. And from me to you, there's more. We'll have another session on Wednesday, but that's going to be a session just on the our business model. And we'll keep you informed as and where and when we get more information. So from the three of us and our team, we want to say thank you so much. Appreciate that. Don't go away. I'm going to stop the recording and then it's going to be open mic. Anybody can ask any questions. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
All the best then. Bye for now.